What is going on, guys? Welcome back to Copyrights. And today's stories come from Am I the Asshole? And let's get into today's first story, shall we? Which comes from reality check AITA. Am I the asshole for giving my son a reality check? I'm a single dad. I have 5 boys. Elder 2, 18 and 17 from a previous relationship, and the younger 3 with my late wife, 15, 13 and 11. My 17 and 18-year-old both have jobs and continue to buy their own food and contribute to buying their own food and clothes. My 15-year-old, we'll call him Jack, doesn't. I don't have a problem with it, but it is relevant to the situation. We're not badly off, but I'm far from wealthy, and with 5 kids in the house, I have to budget carefully. I can only buy but so much food and so many clothes, and the rule is unless you have your own money, you have to accept what's there, and that's it, or there won't be enough to go around. For those who will say, well then, should have had less kids, it's a bit late for that, don't you think? Jack has been unable to keep a job, but that doesn't keep him from complaining about his clothes being too small / uncool, and that he wishes he could eat like his friends, go out nice restaurants, etc. I understand, I grew up less fortunate than my friends as well, and I hated it, but that doesn't mean I can magically change things. Yesterday I came in from work and my younger sons tell me they were going to make PB&J's, but they can't find the peanut butter. I can't find it either, so I end up asking my older sons and Jack. Turns out Jack not only ate the peanut butter, but he's also been stealing food from his older brothers too. I told Jack that he was way old enough to know stealing is wrong, and that he can't eat food that his little brothers need. He got annoyed and asked if I wanted him to start eating from garbage cans. Now, I provide as best as I can for all my children, and while it could of course be better, we're nowhere near the poverty level of the whole eating out the garbage trope. I told him the reality is, if he wants to buy fancy foods and snacks, what? He's going to have to get a job and pay for them himself. He wasn't happy to hear this, but I think it needed to be said. Am I the arsehole here? Wait, I'm sorry. Fancy foods and snacks. Your son ate peanut butter, OP. He was eating he ate the peanut butter because he was hungry. He made himself some food because he was hungry. And apparently he's had to take food that his brothers bought as well because he was hungry. And this whole thing about him getting a job, right? And saying he can't keep a job. He's 15! Your son's 15, OP. He's in school full time. He has work. He has schoolwork to focus on. He's living his life. He's 15. He's not even an adult. He has full-time school. And you expect him to work to buy his own food and clothes? Seriously, OP? You expect him to buy his own food and clothes at 15 and be fully self-sustainable whilst at school full-time? What? Let's hop into the comment section. OP has offered the following explanation for why they think they might be the arsehole. 1, my 15-year-old son has been complaining about the fact that due to our financial situation, he can't have more food / clothes. I said he needs to get a job if he wants these things, as I have 5 children to budget for. 2, I might be the arsehole because I could have been a bit more empathetic. I do relate to his predicament. Wow, OP. Cultural section says, you're the arsehole. He's 15. His clothes being too small and him being hungry is your problem to fix. Fix it. Another commenter says, you're the arsehole. 15 is very young to expect a child to have a consistent job if his clothes don't fit. That is 100% on you. Food is on you. If you expected your 15-year-old to pay for his own video games or extracurriculars, that would vaguely be different. You're expecting a child to pay for the basics. And that sums it up that sums it up perfectly. Your son is a child and you expect him to buy his own food and clothes. Like, you even changed it from the beginning of the story from it being fancy food, that your son's actually complaining that he's not getting enough food and that he has no clothes that fit him. OP, your son is saying to you, I am hungry all the time, I don't get enough to eat, and I don't have clothes that fit me. That's 100% on you or Peter Fix, not your son. Like, what do you want him to do? Drop out of school at 15 so he can work just to feed himself? And I'm going to give a score on this one. 9 out of 10 buttholes. 9 out of 10 buttholes. I'm going that high on this one because it's literally OP's son and he's not feeding him enough or giving him clothes that fit. It's so bad that he's having to steal. Well, it's not even technically stealing. He's eating other people's food in the house. His brother's food that they've contributed towards. His older brothers that work because he's that hungry. And I can't even criticize his son for doing that. Like, I'm not going to give the son any butthole score at all because he's hungry. And you can't blame anyone who's hungry for taking food to eat so they're not starving. You just can't blame people for that. Especially when it's OP's child that he should be feeding himself. He should be paying and ensuring that he's good, that his son has healthy meals, that he's eating enough, that he's getting enough calories in the day, and that they are healthy, sustainable calories. And he should be ensuring that his son has enough clothes that fit him properly, that he can wear. Wow. Let me know what you think about this one down below, guys. Do you think OP's the arsehole in this one? Moving on. Our next story comes from Hot Cartographer 578. Am I the arsehole for selling my late grandmother's house against my brother's wishes? Despite his childhood dream of living there, last year, I 33 male, and my brother Ben, 31 male, grandmother passed away, leaving behind a reasonably large house in a small coastal town. This house is the stuff of picture postcards, a lovely Victorian era home with a view of the sea. It's been in our family for generations, and it holds an immense amount of sentimental value for all of us, particularly for my younger brother, Ben, 31 male. Since we were children, Ben has always been enchanted by that house. He spent hours exploring every nook and cranny, daydreaming about the life he'd lead there. As we grew older, his dream never wavered. He wanted to live in that house. When our grandmother's will was read, it turned out she left the house to me. I was living in the city, happily settled with my own family and career. Ben, on the other hand, was still living paycheck to paycheck, constantly in between jobs, and often borrowing money from our parents or me. Seeing the state of the house after our grandmother's passing, it was clear it needed serious renovation. There were issues with the plumbing, the roof needed repairing, and the old wiring was a safety hazard. All these renovations were necessary to make the house habitable, and they would cost a significant amount of money that Ben didn't have and I wasn't in a position to provide without jeopardizing my own family's financial stability. Taking all this into account, I decided selling the house was the best solution. The housing market was favourable and we stood to make a considerable profit from the sale. My plan was to split the money equally. I wasn't in dire... Wait, your plan was... Okay, the plan was to split the money equally. I wasn't in dire need of all the money as we lived somewhat comfortably, and this way, Ben would have a substantial amount to clear his debts and could rent or even buy a small place where he could start afresh. Ben proposed I sold the house to him at a considerably lower price than the market value. I declined this offer as the amount he was offering was significantly less and almost all of his savings, leaving very little in terms of living costs and expenses. What? What do you mean savings? You just said your brother was completely broke and was in debt. I told him that it wasn't a good idea for him, nor was it beneficial to me and my family, whereas selling it for a much higher value on the open market. What? And splitting the money with him meant we both walk away much more financially stable. Ben was heartbroken and accused me of betraying him and selling off his dream. I tried to explain my perspective, that it was for his own good, but he saw it was as me being pragmatic at the cost of his feelings. He stopped talking to me, and the rest of our family took his side, saying I was selfish. This whole situation has left me riddled with guilt. I never wanted to upset Ben, but I genuinely believed and still believe that selling his house was in our best interest, especially his. Edit to clarify, Ben had offered around 30% of the market value, so me selling it to him would not have been the same for just splitting it 50-50. Yes, my brother did inherit other belongings, however value-wise are much less than the house. My grandmother knew he wasn't well off when it came to financial decisions and did not leave it to me with the intent of it being kept for the family. Her words. OP is offered the following explanation why they think they might be the arsehole. 1, I saw the house given to me through my grandmother during her passing that my brother Ben had dreamed of living in. 2, I may be the arsehole as it wasn't necessarily a clear cut, we must sell the house. I'm sure if I let my brother have/live there, in the long run, it might have worked out, or I should have spoken about it with him to a greater depth and got his thoughts on the matter. And let's look in the comment section, shall we? And OP, for me, you are gonna be the butthole in this situation. You just are. I don't think you're being 100% honest here about how much money Ben has, and you're certainly not being honest about the state of the house, because you contradict yourself so many times in this story. Apparently your brother's completely broke and in debt, and you were going to give him half the money to pay off all these debts he has because it is that bad and he needs it. But yet at the same time, he offered 30% of the market value. You're saying what the market value is. You also say in the story that the house was uninhabitable and needed significant repairs to be lived in, but then a few paragraphs later say that you sold it for a significant profit being more than the house is worth. Like, you said you profited off this. So this house sold for more than it was worth, significantly more. Yet it was uninhabitable. And then at the end, you say, when you offer the explanation, that you could have worked something out, that you should have spoken with him in greater depth and got his thoughts on the matter. It sounds like, OP, you just wanted to sell the house. You didn't even really have a significant conversation with your brother Ben about it, because apparently he did have money, even though he said he was in debt. Like, why couldn't Ben have paid you what sounds like he paid was a fair asking price, considering he said the house was uninhabitable, if we're going to believe that, for your half of it? And why couldn't he have, like, paid 30% and lived in the house and paid the other 20% off as rent? Why couldn't he have done that? Why couldn't he have bought out your half by paying an upfront deposit of 30% and then paid off the rest by living in the house and renting it? Why couldn't your brother have done that? OP, it sounds like you got a big cash payday out of this at the expense of your family. And you says you were going to give Ben half, which to me sounds like you didn't give him half. You pocketed that money as well. So yeah, OP, you're the arsehole in this one. And I'm going to give you 6 out of 10 buttholes, because you are not an honest narrator in this. You are not. Let me know down below, guys, what you think about this one. Do you agree and feel like OP's been very, very shady about the details about this, and very contradictory in the post to make it seem like their brother was the one at fault here, when in reality it was OP? I feel like this post was written in a specific way because OP was hoping that everyone would rag on his brother and say that he was justified. Anyways, guys, let me know what you think. Moving on, our next story comes from Small Natural 8820. Am I the butthole for completely ruining my future sister-in-law's bachelorette party? This is a throwaway account. Also, it's going to be a bit vague. I don't know if I can get in legal trouble, and even more background heavy. I, 28 female, life and my parents' marriage was ruined because of an MLM. What happened was my mother joined a supplement MLM, got way into it, drained both my and my brother's 33 male college funds, and went into tens of thousands of dollars of debt to maintain her rank. When my father was injured and had to take some time off work, the house the car she built came tumbling down. We went from a loving home with 2 parents, a nice house in the suburbs, and at least 20k in a college fund, to our parents divorcing because she refused to leave the MLM, having to live in a crappy basement in our grandparents' house, and facing the reality of taking student loans if we want to go to college, as well as having to work as young teens to help provide for our family of 3. So suffice to say, I hate MLMs with a passion. Now to the situation. My brother is marrying his fiancée, 29 female of 4 years and 2 weeks. Last Saturday I was invited to her bachelorette party. She said that she wanted a low-key night at home with some food, some alcohol and some fun games. I get there, and including her, there are 14 other women. 3 of them are my cousins, who are 19 and 18. After I arrived, I was lost. I was the last one there because I live 3 hours away. One of the women stood up and said that the fun can now begin. Then she dragged a chest of adult toys and started pitching us her MLM. From the get-go, she said that my sister-in-law agreed to host, and that at the end of the night, depending on how much we got, she would get some money to help with her honeymoon. I was fuming. She knew how much both I and my brother hated MLMs, so I just stood to leave. Then I told my cousins to grab their bags and follow me. They tried to stop me, sister-in-law and MLM hon, but I just said that we had to leave. But then I couldn't just leave the other women to be preyed on. So I went on a rant about MLMs, how scammy they are, how I bet after plying them with alcohol, they would be pressured into buying stuff they didn't want, as well as into joining this pyramid scheme. My sister-in-law was teary by then, screaming at me just to leave, and that I ruined her bachelorette party. I just grabbed my cousins and left, and while I felt a bit bad about ruining her night, I did not feel bad about standing up to a scammer at all. My brother says that while he completely understands where I come from, and that he had a really big fight with her, I should have just left with my cousins without ruining the night altogether. So am I the butthole? OP has offered the following explanation for why they think they might be the butthole. When my sister-in-law's bachelorette party turned out to be an MLM recruitment party, I went into a rant about it being a scam instead of just remove myself from the situation, thus ruining her night. Okay, Obi, you say this is an MLM, but I don't even think this is an MLM, and I think you completely overreacted to this. Okay, so what this sounds like is it's an Ann Summers party. This is common like at bachelorette parties and stuff where there will be games with adult themed toys and stuff. And people can win toys and stuff like that. And they can buy toys as well if they want. Because anyone can sign up to do this. And these companies that do this, such as Ann Summers and others, I won't name every single one because I don't want to go down that rabbit hole, but these are reputable companies that do this. They're not MLM schemes. They are people who work as a brand ambassador who get given packages to sell and stuff to give away. It's like Avon magazines in the UK. In the UK, we have this thing called an Avon magazine, and you have Avon ladies. Who are Avon ladies? Avon ladies are people who work for Avon as an Avon lady, and they get given a magazine, and they get given deals and coupons and stuff, and they can go out into their community of friends with a magazine and take orders for people, and they order all the stuff. Grew up around this, completely normal, not an MLM, and what the person gets out of it is a part of the commission from the sales. So I think it's like 25% or something. So whatever you sell, you get like 25% commission. So it sounds like your sister-in-law had a friend who works as an ambassador for some company. I don't know which one it is because you didn't say. Presumably you didn't ask from the story by the looks of it. You just said it was an MLM and blew up the moment that they started talking about it. Like, what? And it sounds like her friend was going to give her the commission from the sales of the night as a wedding gift to help cover the cost of a honeymoon. And rather than just leaving with your cousins, if this was so much of a problem for you, you went further and ruined the entire night by screaming at everyone about how it's a scam, how scammy people are, and how awful what was going to be your soon-to-be sister-in-law. I don't know if it will be now. If I was a sister-in-law, I'd be seriously questioning if I wanted to marry your brother and have to spend the rest of my life surrounded by you. So, yep, I think you are the butthole in this situation, and I'm going to give you 4 out of 10 buttholes because, number 1, you don't even know it was an MLM. Number 2, it sounds like a normal bachelorette party where there's adult-themed toys and stuff and fun games that they were going to play. Number 3, rather than just leaving with your cousins and stuff after making a scene and already making a scene, you decide to escalate it by screaming at your sister-in-law and her friend and yelling at everyone about how it's scammy and how they should all get out of here and how much of an awful person your sister-in-law and her friend are. Let me know, guys, what you think about this down below. Do you agree that OP just completely blew up in this situation? Do you even think this was an MLM party, like recruitment party? Or do you agree with me that it sounds like it was a normal bachelorette party with adult toys where one of the friends was an ambassador and was just gonna give the sister-in-law the commission from it? Anyways, guys, moving on. Our next story comes from Throwaway Therapy Dog. Am I the butthole for bringing my service dog to a wedding where I know he's a scary breed? I, to a female, have a service dog for pancreatic attacks. I have hypoglycemia, unawareness. I'm not diabetic. His name is Angel and he's a Doberman. I love him so much and he helps me avoid passing out and alerts me when I need to eat sugar. He's playful and has never bitten anyone. Though he looks a bit imposing, he has been properly trained and is a real service animal. His tasks keep me safe and protect me from getting hurt. My cousin 26 female, Chloe, is a health nut. No sugar, no fat, no carbs kind of health nut. She knows about my health issues, but asked me not to bring my service dog because of his breed and that he'd scare her and her future husband's kids, as her toddler is afraid of large dogs, having been barked at in his face. I made the wedding slideshow and all of the music was on my laptop, so I had to be there. I told her I had to either be provided with sugar all night in the form of several soft drinks and candies, or I would bring Angel with me along with my own sugar, and she told me fine, but you can live without junk for one night. I received a copy of the menu the morning of the wedding, and surprise, no sugar at all, not in the form of carbs, sweets, drinks, or even in the cake, with a large no exceptions written underneath. So I get dressed, filled my computer case with gummy candies, helping me to regulate sugar quickly, and harnessed up Angel for the night. I sat in the back away from the aisle, through the ceremony, and nobody noticed Angel. I then went to the venue for the reception, and set up my music stand and slideshow. The venue legally has to allow service animals, and the employee was quite understanding. Angel alerted a few times while I was setting up, and I was able to eat what I needed. When Chloe and her husband and their kids arrived, she freaked seeing Angel. People had noticed him this time, and I had explained he's a service animal. Her youngest, a toddler, also noticed and started to cry as he's scared of big dogs. He was in his vest and was laying down calmly as could be. Before I could begin the music for their first dance, she was at my music stand screaming at me that I was selfish for bringing Angel to her wedding, and I could have gone one night without having to be the centre of attention. What? And I could be healthy for once and not eat so much sugar. She kicked us out before dinner or the slideshow, then sent me a nasty email saying I ruined her wedding and she expects me to pay her back for the missing slideshow and the music, even though I did her slideshow as a wedding gift and it took several days. I feel horrible. I made a toddler cry and I feel like a total butthole for bringing Angel, even though I need him on a day-to-day basis. Am I the butthole? Let's hop into the comments, shall we? I will delve. Not the butthole. Depriving a family member of a service animal that alerts for health reasons is deplorable. Health is subjective. In your case, being healthy very literally is having sugar. Unless she'd rather had you pass out at her wedding, I assume you'd have gotten called the centre of attention for that too. OP replied to that saying, I felt very damned if I did, damned if I didn't. Because if she didn't provide the sugar required for me to be without Angel, I could hurt myself, and if I brought it, I feel she would be angry. She's yelled at me for bringing my own soft drinks for family events before, and she doesn't like it when I eat candies in front of her kids. And for me, OP, in this one, you are not the butthole. At all. You are absolutely not the butthole. You spoke to her about this prior to the wedding, and you said, like, I need sugar, or I need to bring Angel to ensure that I'm okay. And she said, literally, she said, fine. She replied to you with fine. And on the day, you get the menu, on the day of the wedding, so it sounds like she kept the menu away from you, so you wouldn't find out until the very day of the wedding. You finally get the menu, and on the menu, there is nothing there, nothing available for you to have that will ensure that you don't have a hypoglycemic attack, and that's dangerous. And she already knew, you already told her that if there was nothing on the menu that you'd have to bring Angel, and she said fine. So you brought Angel, and it sounds like you did your best to be very discreet. And as for the toddler crying thing, you said her toddler cried when he saw Angel, right, when they get to the reception. But I don't think he was crying because he saw Angel. I think the toddler was crying because sister-in-law started screaming at at you. And I know when I was a child, if my mother started screaming at people, I'd get scared. I'd cry because I'd be like, why is she so angry? Why is she screaming at people? And it sounds like this is the exact thing here. Your sister-in-law started screaming, and obviously the toddler got upset because he's like, what? Why is mummy so angry? What's going on? And then she sees her screaming at you and she's like, what? And it sounds like your service dog was very, 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 very well behaved, because you had an angry woman screaming at you and he didn't get his hackles up and remained calm. Kudos to the train for that dog. Up here I'm going to give you 0 out of 10 buttholes, and I'm going to give your sister-in-law 5 out of 10 buttholes, because you spoke to her prior to this, she knew the situation, and frankly I think she's kind of ableist, and I would consider OP's situation to be a disability because she requires a service animal. Her condition's very serious. She could pass out or hurt herself if she doesn't take care of herself. And it sounds like your sister-in-law is a health nut and is pushing her, quite frankly, ridiculous opinions about food onto you, and essentially saying that you're making your illness up, which is completely wrong. Anyways guys, let me know down below, do you agree with me that OP is not the butthole here and that the sister-in-law is completely in the wrong? Especially comments about her saying that OP should just be healthy for once and not eat sugar. Let me know what you think down below. Moving on. Our next story comes from Potluck Throwaway 3. Am I the butthole for throwing away a full dish at a potluck because of dog hair? I, 28 male, friends and I have potluck parties every so often. One of our rules at this is that it has to be store or restaurant bought. We had a food poisoning incident, and so we just said no homemade dishes. Everyone has been cool with it. Our most recent one, a friend invited someone that I have never met before. She's 20s, female, brought her own homemade dish. I guess it was communicated that it was a potluck, but not the rule. Whatever, first time we left the dish out. She brought the mashed potatoes, I took a serving. Not some dark spots, I just thought it was pepper. I felt something weird in my mouth and fished it out. It was an animal hair. Played around with it and found a few more. I was absolutely revolted and threw away the dish. I didn't care that it was mostly full and that people were in line for food. I immediately get yelled at for throwing it away. I tell her that dish has animal hair in it. It's disgusting. I ask her if she's trying to make us all sick. She starts crying, calls me an arsehole, and just leaves the party. I found out she has 4 dogs. If I knew that, I would have never gotten a scoop of potatoes. It was pretty mixed on how I handled it. Am I the butthole? And OP has offered the following explanation for why they think they might be the butthole. Am I the butthole for throwing away another person's potluck dish? Am I the arsehole because I threw it away without permission and then made her feel bad for her dish? And let's hop into the comments, shall we? Olaz3000 says, I cannot imagine anything worse than a potluck where everything is store-bought. Hahaha. Everyone sucks here. Editor at, OP doesn't suck for throwing it out or hosting the worst potlucks ever, but for overreacting like an A and treating the person who did it like it wasn't an accident, asking if she was trying to make them sick, etc. This was gross and needed to go, but no one was likely to get sick. And I have to agree with this comment here. I think this is an everyone sucks here situation. Yes, she made a mistake. It was an accident. But the way OP blew up at her was just not okay. Like, what? Like, saying it's disgusting. Are you trying to kill people, etc.? Like, are you gonna make us all sick? Like, screaming at her? Like, really? That's not okay. So yeah, this is everybody sucks. I'm gonna give OP 4 out of 10 for whole score. Because you shouldn't have screamed at her and like that and said you're trying to make people sick and stuff. Like, that was just unacceptable. And I'll give the person who brought the dish 1 out of 10 buttholes. It was an accident, but if she does have dogs and she's preparing food and stuff, she should be making sure that her food is uncontaminated, that there's no hair and stuff in it, that her kitchen's clean and all that while preparing food. So I do think she has some responsibility there. One more thing to add though. I don't think that she was wrong to bring up about throwing away the dish. Not the food in the dish, but if OP actually threw away the container, like if it was a bowl or a plate or whatever, or a Tupperware box, I don't care what it was. But if he threw that away and didn't give her it back, that it's understandable why she would have said something, because it'd be like, well, why are you throwing it out? And she might not have known that there was hair in it, so yeah. Let me know what you think down below, guys.